Okay, we want to welcome our listeners into Smittys Corner. I'm Walter Smith, host of the show. I just love that song, Everyday People, because that's what my program here is all about. Everyday people coming from all walks of life and got all sorts of activities going on in their lives. Today I have a very special guest, a good friend of mine. I've been knowing him for many, many years, and he's got some exciting information to share with us. He has a title here, A New Genre, A Positive Tell-All. And the person that I'm speaking of is Mr. Dewan Scott. So let's give a round of applause for Dewan Scott. All right. Okay, Dewan, why don't you just get right into it? I know you got a new book out. You're working on it. Let's put it like that.
That's the reason I'm here, and I appreciate you for having me, man. And I love your show.
Yes,
this is not my
appreciate
first time on it.
That's right.
I want to support it in every way I can, and all that you do in the community with your products.
Yes.
That we all need to find them.
And now my products didn't cause her head to go bald. Let's get that straight now.
I got 2 hairs left, and I'm using them. But yeah, I have been told by my friends over and over again that I am the most interesting man in the world.
Yes. And, you got my sons using that slogan now, you know that.
You know, they started me on that.
Yeah, but I told them that. See, I want you to know that I'm the originator of that, okay?
Okay, so that's where it came from.
It might be a debate about that, but I want you to know it came from me.
Well, there you go.
All right.
I owe you a royalty there. But the title of the book is I, because I have had a pretty blessed life. I've had the opportunity to introduce Michael Jackson and Michael Jordan. I've met Muhammad Ali. I've met and worked for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yes.
I worked for Michael Jackson. I've played basketball in over 35 countries. I was cut from the World Championship team where Magic Johnson was a rookie. We were rookies together for a brief moment, but I signed there growing up here. I've had an opportunity to entertain the troops during the Gulf War time, and in between beheadings. And so I've been blessed to see a lot of things and know a lot of people. Shaq stand-in for over 21 years, body double and doing
Shaquille O'Neal we talking about.
Shaquille O'Neal, big, B.I.G., And I just felt that every book that I've ever heard about has always been a tell-all.
Yes.
It's been, people want to, throw dirt.
Yeah.
And there's enough stardust out there. You know what I'm saying? We call them stars for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They shine bright all the way around. And so I just think that there's enough positive people that would want to take, a positive stand.
Yeah.
And help fill a niche to support a new book. I'm going to launch it on Indiegogo. It's going to be a crowdfunding campaign. And I want to be able to carve out a part of my life to not only devote to writing the book, but I want to be able to visit all those people that I have come in contact with to let them know, and run by them what it is I want to talk about them, how they've affected me in ways that they may or may not know and affected others in a way, things about themselves, and then too they might want to put some salt and pepper on it. And what's going to be interesting is how other celebrities have shared with me the impact that they've had on them.
Right.
And it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Now let me ask you: had you ever in your life thought that you would be a author, publisher of a?
I hadn't thought about it.
Right.
I do, and I'll tell you where I think this really stems from.
Okay.
I'm 6'9", 300 pounds, so I've always been.
A big guy.
Yeah, my height has always been the introduction.
Yes.
And so I felt as though a lot of people were automatically intimidated by my height when first we met. And I mean, I'm talking about playground age.
Yes.
I sought to try to diffuse them and make them at ease by being, comedian.
Yeah, yeah.
Jokester, prankster, letting them know that I'm not a threat. I'm not trying to impose my size upon anybody. And I had a pretty, even though I grew up in the heart of Los Angeles, my best friend was next door was a white kid named Glenn. I had a Korean best friend and a Chinese best friend and a Japanese best friend, and all we did was catch bugs and put them in bottles back in those days and play basketball all day long. And I said I would dream to be a Laker. and watched Will Chamberlain and watched Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then when I had the opportunity to sign a 2-year contract in Bill Sharman's office, with Jerry West and at the Fabulous Forum, it was a dream come true.
Yeah.
And so it just dawned on me that I'm constantly sharing stories about, how I met this person or introduced that person or this or that. And I said, well, shoot, man, why don't I just put it in the book? I think people have a right to know.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And with all the experiences that you have shared with me over the years, I know it's going to be a very, very exciting book once it's out.
I'll give you a few teasers, man. What I did is if you have a cover of the book, I see the eye over there in the bottom right-hand corner. If you zoom in on the cover, you're able to see the I portion of it. It's just sentences that highlight the chapters that's in it. And the very first chapter that I decided to do, I named it Who's the Bigger Star?
Yeah.
Who's the biggest star, actually? And the reason that I did that is because Michael Jordan sent me over because he had never met Michael Jackson.
Now, let me say this. My understanding from talking to you about this is you had just met Michael Jordan yourself.
I had met Michael Jordan no more than an hour before. He was filming the very first Space Jam Bugs Bunny commercial that eventually became the Space Jam film, which I was fortunate enough to be two of the Monstar characters in, I guess, as a reward for that introduction to Michael. And it went down. It was kind of funny because as I was meeting Jordan, as I was meeting him, Joe Picker got me in the Screen Actors Guild. He was the director of that commercial and Space Jam, and legendary director, the best in the history of Hollywood, I dare say. There's no limb to go out on that one. Joe was introducing me to Mike, and haphazardly somebody came by and just cavalierly mentioned that Michael Jackson is filming something over on a sound stage, in the same lot. It was at Desilu Studios. And in my naivete, not realizing it would shut down 2 productions, I just cavalierly mentioned Jordan. I said, hey, would you like to meet him?
Yeah.
And he looked at me like, yeah, buddy.
You sound like he kind of doubted you could pull it off.
Yeah, it was like, and I didn't have the maturation in Hollywood to understand what it is I had basically said. There's a camp of Coca-Cola people in this building and the camp of Pepsi in this building.
Michael Jackson's.
Michael Jackson sponsors. And I mean, and it is everybody wants to know who's the biggest star in the room. And that's always a big deal. Who's making the most money. I mean, what is the criteria as to who's the biggest star?
So we got this dilemma, Michael Jackson versus Michael Jordan.
But I didn't see it as other than, man, let me hook it up. That's all. I was just as innocent as it could be. And so, and Mike was like, if you want to put egg on your face, the store is right around the corner, because this is just, when's this going to happen? This is a meeting that should take 3 months to happen, and all the favors that could be extrapolated from this union on all parties. Just me going over there in my innocence. And I go strolling over to Jackson's sound stage, and the security guards were all familiar, and I won't share with you why, because me and Mike were doing some secret practical jokes on celebrities all the time. And I went in there, and Mike was on the couch. I had no idea what he was doing.
You're talking about Michael Jackson.
Yes. I now know he was working on Black and White. Macaulay Culkin was and another bad creation. They were all sitting on the couch, giant screen TVs, looking at the Three Stooges. And Michael was like, hey, what's up? And I said, Michael Jordan wants to meet you. He goes, he wants to meet me? And he was bewildered. And he actually sheepishly and genuinely asked me, who's the bigger star? Who's the biggest star? Now, what do you say to that? I hadn't made a calculation. I never thought, I never sat back and said, if I ask you, you look in the 1990s, who's the biggest star between Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson, and how do you judge that?
Right.
Is it sports star versus entertainer?
Right.
Is it who's made the most money?
Right.
Whose music got you born into this world?
Yeah.
Whose clothes do you wear on
Right.
a daily basis?
Right.
Whose drinks and food do you eat? I mean, who has been
Yeah.
the bigger influence in your life? And in hindsight, after starting to write this book, I started to ask myself some very poignant questions, like, if I would have had any conviction,
Yes.
like you are, or he is,
Right.
Michael would have rolled through it with
Okay.
it because he was humble.
Right.
Because his follow-up question was, before I could really gather myself, was, should I come see him, go see him, or
Yes.
should he come see me?
Right.
And he was concerned about how Jordan's protocol
Right.
factored into the equation.
Right.
And I was like, wow, and he had no pretense about it.
Right.
And for Michael Jackson to be
Yeah.
so humble, and that's why I say, I feel that, it's just positive all the way around, and it's a new genre about, focusing on what's positive about celebrities.
Yeah.
And that was really something else. And when I didn't have an answer for Michael, because what could I say? I mean,
that's the human side of things,
Yeah.
too, would you say?
yeah,
Human nature?
Yeah, well, there are some celebrities that would have said, well, have him come on down here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He wants to meet me, and come
Right.
on down here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Jackson went over to his, I'll call them team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone gather around that has, some say.
Yes.
And they blah, 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 blah. And then Mike came over to me, and he was like, see if he'll come down here to meet me. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And so I go marching down to the sound stage, and Joe Pickett, like I say, is the coolest cat ever, man. And I don't know if any other director would have had the I'll say cojones.
Right.
Because you had Nike paying for this first-time collaboration with Warner Brothers.
Right.
And I mean, you had advertising agencies, and arguably, the best in the world.
Yeah. So a lot of money's tied
A
up.
lot of money. They're filming. They're on a
Yes.
schedule. Who knows how long they have Michael Jordan?
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, it's like, we're going to all go see Michael Jackson. And so I can't tell you, 50 people I estimate, best of my memory, all filed out.
Yes.
And Jackson had a camera crew,
Right.
that filmed pretty much everything he did.
Okay.
And they watched Jordan file out of the Desilu studio, I don't remember what number it was, into, they walked all the way down a couple of sound stages,
Okay.
and came in, and I was, Michael, meet Michael.
Yes.
And what a jam that turned out to be.
So that's a tidbit of what's going to be.
Yeah, that's and that's just one chapter. Like,
Right.
who's the biggest star?
Right.
And then when you really think about it, at the particular point in time, arguably, no matter who you choose,
Right.
I was blessed to meet Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when the Lakers were,
Right.
Magic and I were rookies together. Who was
Yeah.
the biggest star on that team, or the biggest star at that time, or
Right.
the biggest star today from that? You know what I
Yes.
mean? And then when you think about it, I just introduced Jim Brown and Manny Pacquiao before
Right.
the fight down in Las Vegas, and in Jim Brown's day,
Yeah.
Jim Brown was the superstar.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And to Manny Pacquiao, there's 107 million Filipinos.
Wow.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say 107 million Filipinos all love Manny Pacquiao.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
and there's not too many, when I met Muhammad Ali in his office, I got in a fight with him.
Okay.
Not a fist fight.
Yeah. Now, let's clear that up. Now.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I got it. Well, let me tell you,
a verbal discussion.
It was admiration, and it caught me off guard, and I was telling him he was the greatest and why.
Yes.
And he begged to differ.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali begged to differ,
Right.
and you'll have to read the book to find out who and how many other boxers he felt were
Right.
greater than he was.
Yes.
And he acquiesced to the fact that he was the best marketer.
Okay.
You know, I guess this is what him and Michael Jackson have in common, because he was all about the promotion, but never
Yes.
did he ever, believe that he was the greatest in his humble opinion
Yes.
of all time. He had, and then, if you read the book, we get it done, you'll see where he ranks on his list.
Okay.
And I was surprised.
Yeah.
And I couldn't argue with him,
Yes.
so I lost to Muhammad Ali.
Okay. Speaking of which, you mentioned Manny Pacquiao, but he knew something about you from years back.
Well, the thing is that when I went to, after I got cut by the Lakers, that was a transition where you played in front of 17,505 was the attendance at the
Okay.
Forum. When you got to Araneta Coliseum, where they held the Thriller in Manila previously,
Yes.
that was 35,000 people per game.
Okay.
And Manny was a little kid when I was playing for Great Taste, and his dream was not to grow up and be a boxer, it was to be a PBA player.
Okay.
So he's over in the Philippine Basketball Association right now playing. In fact, he's playing against one of my former teammates, an American, Norman Black.
When you say he, Manny?
Manny's a player and coach for Kia.
Okay.
Kia Sorrento is the name of the team.
All right.
And it's a Division I team. And so arguably they lost in the playoffs because he had to stop playing in coaches and then come over here and fight Floyd.
Okay.
His first year as player coach.
So my question is this. Okay, he was aware of you and your basketball talents over in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
How did you connect with him years later?
My brother-in-law, I put in 35 countries, and my brother-in-law is either on my heels or about to pass me.
Okay.
As far as, Dubai, Kuwait, Taiwan, he's
Right.
running around the world. And so he connected with Manny's people because he was playing ball with them.
Okay.
And so he had me come by to meet Manny, and then that was about 3 or 4 years ago, and we just hit it off.
Okay.
And, Bible studies, matter of fact, your son went with us,
Yeah, yeah.
and so, their relationship just flourished with that. And,
Okay.
So that's very where I was with Manny. And so when you think about it, it's luminaries around the world. It's just
Right.
not here.
Right.
It's and it's just not basketball players.
Yeah.
Boxers, entertainers, royalty.
Yes.
I was in Monaco, Robert Smith, who we've had in the
Yes.
studio. Robert Smith played in the NBA, I want to say, for 8 years.
Okay.
He was a star at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, but we played in high school together.
Right.
Robert.
Crenshaw High
School.
Right.
And Willie West. So when I played overseas, Robert played in the south of France in Monaco.
Okay.
So I'd go see Robert because it was freezing where I was.
Yeah.
Robert's playing for Prince Rainier, actually.
Okay.
Prince Albert was our ball boy.
Right.
We'd shoot around. I practiced with him the whole 9 yards, and he's
Yeah.
a little younger than us.
Right.
And then we hit the beaches, and jogging a nude beach with a prince is a pretty interesting.
Most interesting man in the world. That's how that title come about. Doing some interesting things, huh?
Interesting
okay.
thing, man.
Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna have that highlighted in your book.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
Discussions
because Prince Albert, actually the royal family is all pretty good.
Okay.
Not just that one, but the Saudi family too.
Okay.
I entertained the troops with Kareem over there, and that was
Okay, wonderful. Well, this is going to be an abbreviated program today, so I'm going to have you back on at a later date.
Got it.
But we're going to break for our sponsors right now, and I tell you what, I look forward for the publication I. Yeah.
I.
Okay. And that's Dewan Scott, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we'll break for our sponsors now.
What's your style? Curly? Straight? Wavy? Or maybe you like it natural? Introducing Secret Styling Hair Care Products by Smith Products Company, LLC. A complete line of hair moisturizers, shampoos, conditioners, and an assortment of other hair styling aids formulated for today's fashion-conscious consumer. Enhance your style. Get the secret.
All right, we're back. You know, I kind of jumped the gun there. I didn't realize I still had a few more minutes here. The engineer was looking at me, giving me a little tip off there. But so we're not going to get rid of you just that fast, Dewan.
Reprieve.
You got some more things you want to talk about?
Well, just a couple of things. I'd be remiss. I mean, there are some people. You know, although I am but a twinkle in a galaxy of stars
yes.
and celebrity stories, you know, my claim to fame in Hollywood as a member of the Screen Actors Guild for over 31 years is playing Bigfoot characters.
Okay.
Universal, Sony Pictures, Warner Brothers, Disney,
yes.
the whole 9 yards.
Did you get an Emmy award? Or?
Well, what happened was Rick Baker
okay.
is the costume designer. He got an Academy Award for makeup for Harry and the Hendersons, the feature film.
Okay.
In the feature film, Kevin Peter Hall starred as Harry,
okay.
but they made two of the exact same suits for us because I was the stunt Harry.
I got you.
And the suits cost $1 million, and they won an Academy Award. And
right.
Kevin Peter Hall, a dear friend of mine, has passed away. You know, it's been some time now, and when he died, I took over the television series.
Okay, is that the basketball player you're referring to? Or?
Well, no, Kevin didn't know. Kevin Peter Hall, he played basketball. He went to American University, I want to say, in D.C., but he didn't play professionally. He was 7'1". You know, he was a comedian. He was a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
And
but is this the guy that was married to the Hollywood actress?
Yeah,
okay.
Elena Reed Hall.
Right,
he was on 227.
Yeah,
he also was Predator.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, when Universal picked up the television series, I took my Academy Award-winning costume.
Okay, I got you.
And I did the television show, and that is how I met Michael Jackson.
Okay.
I went to work one day, and Michael was on my soundstage. He had been looking for me.
Okay.
Because he was a big fan of Rick Baker's work, because Rick had did his werewolf, werecat for Thriller.
Right.
Amongst other things.
Yes.
Clumps and this and that and the whole 9 yards. So, as a result, Mike came up with the original idea that he wanted to do practical jokes.
Right.
With me wearing the Bigfoot suit.
Michael Jackson you're referring to.
Michael Jackson on Superstars.
Right.
He was the first person, I believe, that can be credited with ambushing celebrities with practical jokes.
Okay.
Long before Austin Kutcher and Punk'd.
Right.
Way back in the early 80s, Michael Jackson had his own camera crew. The estate has all this footage. They have the footage of me introducing Michael Jordan to Jackson.
Yeah.
And footage of me and Michael doing our pranks. And it was before his children were born.
Right.
So I believe that this book, that his kids, they're well aware that how funny that their father was.
Right.
But I think that his fans, and I've only met his mother, but there's members of his family, I think they have a right to know, you know, how talented he was,
right.
His comedic sense of timing,
yes,
ability to write. He was his impromptu was
right.
fantastic. He was a great straight man.
Yeah.
You know, he comedic genius should be added to Michael Jackson's legacy.
Okay.
You know, if his star can shine any brighter, I think you know. And if I have 2 cents, I'd like to throw it in there. And so Harry and the Hendersons was, you know. And then I see on the screen Bruce Almighty.
Right.
That's a Disney suit I have on, but that was for the movie Bruce Almighty. But it wound up being in a deleted scene, so you have to either go online or buy the CD to see us clowning around.
So you had a little thing with you and Jim Carrey you shared with me. If you say a certain thing, he would know exactly what you were talking.
The thing with Jim and I is that the first time I met him, he was filming the scene in Bruce Almighty where he just got God's powers.
Okay.
And the dress blew up when the girl, you know, walked by.
All right.
And he met me when I was in full makeup.
All right.
Now, he has an affinity for that because of the mask.
Okay.
And so he was like, "Oh, I know what you're going through, my brother." Yeah. He was like, "Yeah, man, there's a cool human being underneath that, you know." And so every day that we filmed and we did our thing, you know, he was like, I was always in the mask or the suit. Okay. So we had a little thing going because we had some funny stuff. He was hilarious, man, and I ain't too bad. Okay. And so we were vamping, and he says one day, a big black man is going to come up to me who I've never seen before, and we got to have a code word. Yeah. And the code word is Bigfoot. And on that day, my Bigfoot brother, I'll know it was you. And so I have yet to see Jim, since. But, we did Bigfoot in the park, like Shakespeare in the park.
Right, okay.
So that was kind of fun. So there was the Bigfoot thing. And then two, Shaq.
Yeah.
Big fella. Now, I played basketball with Will Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
right,
Shaquille O'Neal, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan as a Monstar.
Yeah.
And I've got love for each and every one of them, and I've learned from every one of them.
Right.
And there's greatness to you got to wait to see the book as to who, in my estimation, overall is the greatest.
Right.
But there is a...
You're speaking about from the center position.
From the center, well, Magic didn't play center and neither did Jordan.
Right.
But when you talk about just talent on the floor, it's like, there's a presence there.
Okay.
But I've got to save something.
Right.
But the thing is this. I first met Shaq during my transition from Harry closing and they needed a stand-in.
Right.
In Hollywood and a stuntman for Shaquille, and who else could they call upon?
Right.
And so I said, I'll act like a stuntman and I'll act like a stand-in. And so, that started on Blue Chips, and we've kind of been together ever since. Okay. There has not been a more generous. I mean, I've seen this guy. He's just the total package.
Referring to Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaquille O'Neal, man. Shaq is funny. He's smart as a whip.
Yeah.
He's a man among men. And I just have so much, admiration for him and all that he's done that you'll never know. Yes. In the community and for people. We're both born in New Jersey. Yeah. Both come from law enforcement backgrounds. My father was president of detectives in New Jersey, and he's surrounded by a bunch of uncles that all worked in New Jersey, law enforcement. And so, his time he spent in Germany. Okay. With Sarge, and I spent time overseas, and we call each other brothers. Yes. And we're both kindred spirits, and so.
Speaking of your overseas travel, how many different languages do you speak?
You know what? Je parle.
Meaning what? You
got to say difficile. It's hard for me to, Well, let me put it to you this way.
I've seen you speak Spanish. I've seen you speak French.
It depends on where I go.
Okay.
Because I
fluently when I say speak.
Well, I have to go somewhere and be there for a minute for it to all come back. Right. Because if I don't practice, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, I understand that.
But I had become pretty proficient in Spanish when I played in Latin American countries, Argentina, Costa Rica, and then in France, it was France, Switzerland, Monaco, Belgium, then if you want to eat, you speak. Yes. So I'm rusty. Okay. But if you drop me someplace, I'll survive.
Yeah. Now, also, you introduced Kareem to the Saudi Arabians.
Well, yeah. You know what? And it's funny that you put it that way. Yeah. Kareem and I were doing a bunch of LA Gear commercials when he was retiring. Okay. And I basically had asked him, Cap, you're getting all these gifts throughout the United States. Let me take you overseas to some of my spots, and you get gifts there. Okay. You go to Monaco, and do a basketball camp, and hear, jazz. And you go to Montreux, same thing, jazz festival. And he said, fine, Scotty, hook it up. Yeah. And I had a close friend, family friend, grew up with, ball player, Paul Mills. Yeah. And they all went to school with the royal family. Okay. And so the minute we talked to them about Kareem going to Saudi Arabia, it was on. Yeah. And so we went over, played 7 games throughout the kingdom. Now, when we arranged that tour, it was no war. Right. And so Saddam invaded Kuwait, and then that pushed everything back. Right. And they were talking about it would be another Vietnam. So that trip in and of itself was something, because everywhere you went, you just felt as though you were going to get killed. Yes. Okay. But, so hey.
So let's talk about it. You're gonna do crowdfunding.
Yeah, I'm going to launch on Indiegogo.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I'm going to probably extrapolate some of this interview here to be my video, just to be straightforward, and see if I can get enough people to give me in advance so that I can take time to focus on, really dedicating myself to doing this book the best I can.
Wonderful. And
visiting everybody. You know, I mean, in the case of the Jacksons, like I say, his kids weren't born. And I just want to drop a bunch of stuff. I want to go and meet them and share it and find out what they're comfortable with, and let them know what the estate has and what we can use. And
you mentioned you had something to do with the glove project. We just got a few seconds.
Well, you know what? The thing is I went down to the fight in Las Vegas, and
You talking about the Manny Pacquiao?
Yeah, and I looked over in the corner of my eyes. I'm standing in front of the one show store window, and I see an animated Michael Jackson glove. And I said, hey, that's my glove. I helped design that and create that and cut the deal with the estate, and just got a royalty check for it yesterday. Okay. One of the royalty checks yesterday. Right. And so I had kind of forgot about that. Okay. And then, so there's a lot of things that we want to do. I can now help the stars shine brighter. Okay, so that's going to be all included. That's all in the crowdfunding campaign. So we look forward to your crowdfunding campaign and the actual publishing of the book. You're going to work through Amazon, maybe? Probably. Your son has a couple of books on Amazon, and he's lit the way. Okay, so this time we are going to sign out, and again, I look forward to talking to you later and see how your book has progressed. Thanks for having me. All righty. There, but for the grace of God, go I.
Hey, are you tired of those same old energy drinks with bad taste? Make a switch to Pit Bull Energy Drink with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Pit Bull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pit Bull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products with a guaranteed no aftertaste. Make a switch to Pit Bull Energy Drink. Pit Bull offers more energy with ginseng and vitamins B6 and B12. With a ginger ale lemon lime flavor, Pit Bull meets the consumer's demand for better tasting and healthier energy products. For more information on Pit Bull energy drinks, bars, and mixes, visit their website at hiphopbev.com. That's hiphopbev.com. Online orders available at hiphopbev.com.
What's your style? Curly? Straight? Wavy? Or maybe you like it natural? Introducing Secret Styling Hair Care Products by Smith Products Company, LLC. A complete line of hair moisturizers, shampoos, conditioners, and an assortment of other hair styling aids formulated for today's fashion-conscious consumer. Enhance your style. Get the secret.